Welcome to the show. I am joined by Hodgie and John Sheeran, of course.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, and today we want to talk about something that is more of a rumor at this point, but is a really, really interesting one.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
is it though? Is
I
it
think it is.
interesting? Is Tannehill? You want to say what the rumor is before I begin to criticize it
Well,
and
okay.
give my
So
opinion?
Benjamin Albright is the guy who John respects, which tells you a lot.
Yeah.
And he is saying on Twitter that we shouldn't be surprised if the Bengals go after Ryan Tannehill this offseason. And the thing about Ryan Tannehill is he's not that young. He's like, what, 29, 30?
He's 30, going to be 31 this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
30. The man has been injured many a time. ACL, all kinds of injuries.
Right. And so he's not like a young guy who you want to try out and see what his future looks like.
No, he has no future.
He is at the same stage as Andy Dalton.
And he's not as good as Andy Dalton.
Well, he
Debatable.
hasn't had as good of a career,
Debatable.
but
Debatable.
he hasn't had AJ Green or the kind of. But yeah, he hasn't had a good career.
Right.
And the thing is, and that implies that the Bengals are moving on from Andy Dalton, and they have a veteran to keep the veterans, happy, and maybe we can possibly compete while we find a young quarterback and develop him. And so we'll trade Andy Dalton perhaps to Jay Gruden on the Washington.
Yeah.
So John, what do you make of the craziness?
Right. So too many people are caught up in the idea that the Bengals want to upgrade from Andy Dalton to Ryan Tannehill. And that is so far from the point it's not even worth expressing.
Right.
Ryan Tannehill and Andy Dalton more or less are in the same tier if you were to compare quarterbacks from all over the league. You'll have some people saying that Tannehill is more naturally gifted. You'll have some people saying Andy Dalton is more consistent. Whatever the case may be, they're pretty much marginal when you compare the two. The discussion is not the Bengals would win or lose more or less with Ryan Tannehill in comparison to Andy Dalton. The whole point of this rumor and what it really means is that whoever starts for Cincinnati in 2019, maybe even 2020, is essentially the bridge. It's the bridge into the era of Zach Taylor football that he will ultimately be judged upon. And essentially, over the next 2-3 years, the Bengals are going to go and draft a quarterback very high in the draft to essentially take over from the Andy Dalton era or Ryan Tannehill era and become the next starting quarterback. That is the whole point of this. Ryan Tannehill is not the future of the Bengals. I know people don't want to see Ryan Tannehill play for the Bengals because he's not that good of a quarterback. That's not the point. The whole point is that they're hitting the reset button. They might have already hit the reset button, and Tannehill represents to them a quarterback that a guy like that Zach Taylor knows and is comfortable with to institute the first 2 years of his scheme in his offense to get a good sense of what the Bengals are right now with at least a somewhat capable quarterback instead of a guy like Jeff Driscoll, to see what they have, to see who they need to move on from, where they need to go from here. And the most important aspect of all of this is that if you keep Andy Dalton for the next 2 years and you don't have Ryan Tannehill, you can't just trade away Andy Dalton in that time because what are you going to do? Start Jeff Driscoll or start some late round pick that you draft in the next few years? No. If you trade Andy Dalton, you have at least somewhat of a base of assets that you can then stockpile in order to trade up in a later draft for a first round quarterback. Because that's just the reality of the NFL now. If you want to draft a quarterback in the first round, odds are you're going to have to trade up for that. The Bengals don't like to trade up. Like, they almost never do it. So if they were to do it, they would make sure that they have an overstock of valuable assets that they would have to get somehow. So with Ryan Tannehill, you presumably have assets from trading Andy Dalton. When you just have Andy Dalton, you don't have any extra assets to eventually trade up. And that presents a problem for moving on.
Right. So question for you, John. What does what do you get for an Andy Dalton right now?
Right now, it really depends on what team you're talking about. For
Ballpark,
maybe like
ballpark.
I would say somewhere in the range, maybe a little bit more for what the Bengals were hoping to get for AJ McCarron when you went to the Browns. So like the baseline would be a second and a third. And it's not much. It's not enough to eventually move up. No, it's not. It would start the fun. It wouldn't It wouldn't start and finish the fund of eventually trading up. It would start the fund. Maybe you get a first-round pick, maybe, but you have to realize this is Andy Dalton, and you don't know, what his market is at this point because you don't know how he's ranking to other teams and to other, general managers and whatever. Yeah. And if you were to compare him to other starting quarterbacks in the league, you have some people saying he's in the 20s, you have some people saying he's in the teens. He's kind of all over the place, and people like to take away from him from the fact that he's had AJ Green and a strong supporting cast in the past, and then that counterouts his limited abilities and his talents. So it really depends on what kind of deal that you get. But I would probably venture to say right now, at this moment, if you were to trade him, your expectation would be maybe a couple day 2 picks with maybe a first round pick.
Maybe some coins out of the seat cushion. But hold on. I was going to say if only Logie owned the football team, he could get a lot. But hold on. One question.
Well, actually, no, because he never wanted to leave Cincinnati.
No, I'm saying if he owned another football team, he'd want to.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, hold on. Now, I know that you're a realist, John, and you're a man of great rationality. But so you're not going to like this question. But what do the Philadelphia Eagles possibly get for Nick Foles? Ooh. What would they demand?
Well, last year I think they were going for a first-round pick, and that was after he just won them the Super Bowl and went on that playoff run and had basically the Joe Flacco of playoff runs. Right. Now you have him off a shaky performance against the Saints.
I thought it was a phenomenal performance, but that's beside the point.
He's a year older. Obviously, he's not the future of the Eagles. They have a lot less leverage than they had last year. Right. I would say at best you could probably get like a late second-round pick, and maybe just a high third.
So a little bit better than what you're getting for Andy Dalton.
No, you would just probably only get one of those picks, I would say.
Yeah.
Or telling you get multiple.
Yeah, but.
Okay.
Maybe even that's overstepping. But maybe I'm overestimating it.
John, he's only 29, 30. I mean, he's turning 30, I think, a few days.
He's a clear backup.
Okay, but John, didn't the Chiefs?
So wait a minute.
What did they get? A second rounder for Alex Smith?
Let's get this on the table, John. Just put it right there. Put it on the table. A John Sheeran prefers. Now, I know this can't be true, but I'm just gonna. So it can't be true, John, that a John Sheeran prefers a Tannehill to a Nick Foles. That cannot be the case, right?
Well, what are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish?
I mean, look, why can't Nick Foles be the guy who carries us for the next 2-3 years till we get that next
Taylor's preference?
Yeah, he wants someone who knows the system, but he wants someone who knows the system. But I'm a fan. What am I going to do for the next 2 years? I can't just wait. I'm getting older every year, John. What if I don't live until this next quarterback comes? Seriously, man.
2 years? I mean, aren't you a vegan?
I know. Technically, there's a chance I live forever, but it's still there are accidents.
Okay.
Heavens forbid.
Okay. So look. There are a few things here. First of all, the assumption that, we're going to move on from Dalton because Zach Taylor, I think maybe Tannehill fits more what he liked to do, and he doesn't see Dalton being able to do that at all, and there's a small chance that Tannehill can, right? But if I'm not mistaken, John, wasn't Tannehill like a safety or something in high school or college?
He was a wide receiver.
And he was a punter too, right?
Okay. And Jeff Driscoll is equally as athletic.
Here we go.
No.
Wait, John, hold on.
You can't.
John,
you can't.
Hold on. So what I want to say is, do you remember Goodberry was tweeting about how Dalton is replacement level because Driscoll's numbers without AJ Green were similar to Dalton's without AJ Green? And, Driscoll was without AJ Green, without Eifert, without Boyd even at the end. He had Cody Core and John Ross. Okay, my point is this. He also said that Tannehill would help us lose enough to get a good quarterback, right? What I'm saying is, but he says Driscoll would be so bad we couldn't evaluate talent. That's what the little Twitter chat.
That's the whole point of why you can't.
No, what I'm saying is this. So Driscoll is replacement, like Dalton is replacement level with Driscoll. Like there's not that big of a drop off.
In production,
but
no.
Tannehill is a big drop off. And then from Tannehill to Driscoll is a huge drop-off.
Wait. Tannehill's a drop-off from who?
From Dalton.
How big?
That's debatable.
That's what he was saying. He was saying Dalton is good enough to keep us getting average draft picks, but Tannehill will help us drop fall off.
We haven't gotten average draft picks in the last 3 years. So we've drafted
like
9th, 12th, and 11th.
Tannehill will let us get top 5 or something.
Maybe. I don't personally know that for sure. Honestly, I don't think.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this: what I'm saying is, why trade a draft pick or even invest anything when we should be drafting a quarterback this year or next year, and just let Driscoll play until that guy's ready to go? Like what was the guy in Cleveland?
Baker Mayfield
from the Bills. He came from the Bills.
Tyrod Taylor?
Yeah. So I'm saying they had Tyrod Taylor. They knew he was going to go to the bench in like 2-3 games. So just draft someone, and you can call Driscoll your veteran a starter. For
I would love to draft someone this year, but I don't think. And I wanted to draft a quarterback in the last 2 years when I knew there were quality prospects there. I don't think the Bengals think that there's a guy that they want to invest a lot of assets in this year.
No, I don't like this year.
No, because the top two quarterbacks.
What if Kyler Murray falls to us?
Kyler Murray and Dwayne Haskins fall in the same boat, and it has nothing to do with Murray's height. It has nothing to do with Haskins' lack of athleticism. They're both one-year starters at the college level. There's only been 2 high draft picks at the quarterback position in the past, however many years that have been the first quarterback taken in the draft. They're one-year starters. You have Cam Newton and Mitchell Trubisky.
Smith went pretty high.
Yeah, and he's no Cam Newton. He just isn't.
Neither of those two are Cam Newton. Cam Newton's the LeBron James of the NFL. Like Haskins and Murray are talented. I don't dispute that, but there is a tremendous amount of risk with either of them, and we can get into a whole other debate with this. But I think that the Bengals are thinking beyond 2019, and a lot of fans are upset that a new coach is coming in and not wanting to compete for a Super Bowl immediately. But this is the vision that they need to have because they're not ready to compete, and that's the hard truth that a lot of fans need to understand.
Can I go back to, John, something that you said earlier? Because I sometimes develop my own way of seeing things. And I got to say, I just don't see Nick Foles as being mediocre or even bad or anything like that. So I'm going back to the playoff game against Drew Brees. Okay, I'm going back to his performance there, which is supposedly a subpar performance. And I saw a man who took them to an early lead, who made a lot of completions, and then when they fell behind, was playing his game of catch-up, but his receivers let him down. He didn't have an AJ Green. He didn't have a Tyler Boyd. He didn't have the Bengals weapon, so to speak, and they really let him down. And if that pass wasn't like not dropped, but what do you call it, like misdirected, so that it was intercepted, that wasn't fair to him, man.
Yeah, bounced off the receiver's hands. And then also a little early, there was a pass where the guy would have got a huge gain, but he just didn't turn around for the ball. Do you remember that one, John?
Yeah, man. It was almost like it was fixed. I'm telling you.
It wasn't fixed. But I mean, look, the thing is, he wasn't in sync with his receivers because he wasn't.
What is the point of this? Why do we want Nick Foles?
The point is, I want Nick Foles.
Why?
I want him more than the high draft pick. I want him more than the number 1 draft pick. I want him now. I want him on my team. I want him today. I want him now on my team.
Okay. Look, we have to move on.
I want Nick Foles. And Dadio was supposed to give me a Nick Foles episode where I was going to talk about how Nick Foles is better than Wentz. So instead, since I didn't get it, I'm going to bring it up in every one of our...
By the way, Hodgie, what is with the hats? Did you explain that?
Are you freezing there? Is your heat on?
I am. I'm glad you asked. It's very cold. And the reason is, in solidarity with our federal workers who are not getting paid, I have decided to turn my heating off. You got a little bit hot and uncomfortable there, Dadio, didn't you? And even though my house is actually not heated by unrenewable, by oil or coal or probably what you guys, I'm guessing most of you guys, your houses are heated by coal. But my house is actually heated by every time someone in the Malibu area flushes the toilet, my house gets a little bit warmer. But I've turned that off just in solidarity. I use no energy.
Well,
Daddy, how much fast food did you eat today?
Well, not as much as they had at that great buffet. Did you guys see that? That was fantastic. That was amazing. That's like a dream to have all the fast food lined up right there.
That's not food, man. That's not food.
That's American food.
That is
great
plastic.
American
that is plastic
food.
You stick in your body, and you are what you eat. You become that plastic.
I don't know, man. It's tasty. John, it's tasty, right?
It's very tasty, especially on a college budget.
There you go. Yeah, and they loved it. You see the kids, they loved it.
Nobody loved it. Nobody loved it. It was
I
horrible.
just like the fact that even though the government shut down, some people are still being generous. You know.
Oh my gosh.
Look, okay, look. I want to move on. And
You are brainwashed, man. You are
the Bengals
brainwashed.
supposedly fired Frank Pollock. Well, they probably fired him.
They did.
They fired him. And Joe Mixon was not happy at all.
Yeah, Mixon shouldn't be happy because actually Pollock did a good job. Is this why you reward someone who made basically a brick wall of offensive lineman-ness out of nothing? Is that how you?
I don't know about brick wall, but the running block was.
It was great. It was much better by the end. He had 1 year.
And by the way, John,
1 year.
Yeah, and also John, the whole Westerman situation. Who makes that call? Would that be Pollock or Lewis or someone else?
From what I heard, and it's not much, but from what I was told, it's that Pollock had no decision making in that whole situation. I don't know if he was vouching for Westerman for as long as he was. I don't know if those problems began in training camp when Redmond started taking first team reps away from Hopkins and Westerman. All I was told was that Pollock wasn't given authority on who was being tried out for the starting lineup. That was always, I think, a Marvin Lewis thing. I don't even know if Paul Alexander had that influence, but I think maybe it was a Bill Lazor thing. Maybe it was Lewis and Lazor kind of working together in that part. But from what I was told is that Pollock pretty much did not have control over that.
Yeah.
Regardless, though, who exactly did Pollock elevate this year?
Not any one person, but the line as a whole.
Well,
the line as a whole was below average. But the year before it was awful. Now it's below.
Yeah, exactly. So
John, you're cool with the firing. You are cool with it, as they say.
So John, but
I don't think Pollock was as slow progress in general. I think with better bodies there,
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying. So look what he did in Dallas. Now imagine we draft a good offensive lineman on his evaluation this year. Wouldn't that be good?
What was Billy Price for Frank Pollock? Was he the guy?
He's not good.
So did Frank Pollock make that call?
I don't know. I'm asking you. Because
from what I got from him is that he really liked Price as a player, the same way that Paul Alexander liked Aboyehi.
I see. So fine. Go. Let's get rid of him.
Regardless, my initial thought when Pollock got fired was that they're going to bring in Bill Callahan. Callahan.
Are they?
I don't know. But regardless, Bill Callahan was the Cowboys offensive line coach when Frank Pollock was the assistant there. Callahan left for the Washington football team, and then Pollock took over for Callahan in Dallas. He coached there for about a couple years.
Callahan was the brains behind all this.
I don't know. He's a well-respected offensive line coach. He did a tremendous job in Washington elevating guys.
Head coach, which says he must be a great offensive line coach.
He was Zach Taylor's head coach at Nebraska.
Oh, right. Yeah,
that's the connection there.
That'd be a funny dynamic, though. Like you have this little kid that you train.
That's another thing I want to bring up because Mike Sherman was Texas A&M's head coach when Zach Taylor was a grad assistant. And then he was the Dolphins offense coordinator when Zach Taylor was the quarterback's coach. Mike Sherman is Zach Taylor's father-in-law. And for the times that Taylor and Sherman worked together, obviously Taylor was the what do you call the understudy or whatever, his employee. Yeah. So now people are talking about how Sherman would come in some type of advisory role or maybe even in a position coach's role under Zach Taylor. And I'm not married. I know you guys are. I don't know what it would be like to have your father-in-law as an employee of you, or if you were a father-in-law and your boss was your son-in-law. I don't know how that would work. And I don't know why people are supporting it that much.
No, it's not a good idea.
It's kind of
a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like when you let the grandkids drive the car. It's like it's kind of cute, and you're like, yeah, I'm letting them do it, but I know that they don't know what they're doing, and I am still kind of in the position where they know I am the real authority.
Right.
And that is probably something not good for Zach Taylor, unless he has a really cool, father-in-law.
Daddy and I both dated Madonna once, and we didn't even know we were both dating the same person. It was like a sitcom.
Well, yeah, I mean, but to be fair, everybody in our age brackets dated her.
That's true.
But
I don't even think she was really Madonna. She was just some lady who put this like.
Well, yeah, you remember when you first came
to
to this country, you thought every blonde was Madonna. I was like, no, Hodgie, she doesn't live in Cincinnati. I kept telling you. But look, Hodgie. So John, so this Colts guy, right? What do you think of the job that he did? Like,
oh no, are we discussing him?
He's not. Good.
Shall we name him?
He might be a good coach. I know he's not a good person.
What? Who cares?
Right. So something that popped up today was that there was an offensive lineman. His name is Denzel Good, I think is his name. He was, I think, starting for them for a decent amount. And what happened during this past season was that his brother was killed. And I think a drive-by or some type of homicide. And Good took a little bit of time off to grieve and obviously be with his family. And what ended up was that the Colts offensive line coach basically berated him for it and insulted him for it and said, "You can't play on my team if you're gonna take time off away for something like this. You have to be able to play through this." And what ended up happening was that Good didn't take well with it, obviously, and asked for his release. And the GM gave it without question. And now he was left go. People didn't understand why, but then this kind of surfaced up. I think last year, but it was kind of glossed over. But I don't think he's a good guy.
Okay.
I don't want him.
Forget him.
When you put it like that.
Well, then you have Munchak, who immediately got a job with the Broncos.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing, John. How do we know who's good offensive line coach or not? They say Munchak is great, but Joe Mixon says Pollack was the best in the business. Now, of course, he's biased.
I agree with Mixon.
So, John, so Callahan we know is good.
I don't think Pollack is bad. I think he's overrated from how Bengals fans and media treat him. But I don't think he's a bad coach at all. I think Callahan is better, and I think that they're doing this in the assumption that Callahan's going to come and make a lateral move. Because
I see. So
from what I heard,
and I mean, to some extent, and I'm probably pointing at the obvious here. This is Zach Taylor, getting his ducks in a row. He wants his own people there. He has some plan. He has some vision.
Yeah, John. So who's the defensive coordinator?
I have
no one knows.
No idea.
No one knows.
All right.
And in fact, it's going to be an issue, I think, because we don't have great personnel. We need to make up for it somehow.
Because I think Schefter tweeted out and then deleted it, or some Bengals reporter tweeted out that Schefter said this, but then it was deleted. I don't know if it's confirmed or anything. But the two favorites were Vance Joseph and Steve Wilkes, the coach that got fired by Arizona. Joseph is now the Arizona defense coordinator. I think Wilkes is now the Browns defense coordinator. So whatever options that they have, I guess they're still completely out in the open.
Nah.
Well, maybe Wade Phillips. Maybe we bring him over.
That'd be good.
I doubt it. I really doubt it.
Yeah.
So back to Nick Foles then.
No more Nick Foles.
No. Nick Foles.
So John,
we need Nick Foles.
So let's say we bring in Tannehill. You think we draft the quarterback mid-round this year just to take a flyer on the guy?
This is not the year. There are no good options mid-round. This is not the QB year. This is not the QB year.
Okay.
No.
All right.
The whole point of Tannehill is to bring in a guy that can just do what the similar things that Dalton can do, but it has the familiarity with Zach Taylor. But you have the assets that from trading Dalton away because you bring in Tannehill to eventually get the future guy. That's the whole point. It's not a matter of Tannehill being better than Dalton. No. It's just the extra stuff that comes with it.
Tannehill is accident prone or injury prone. That's a big deal. There are other problems as well. I mean, look, I don't think personally that look, if we're good enough, then how does that work for the year after, for let's say, 2020, for us to actually get a high enough pick to get a good quarterback?
Define good enough. Are you talking outside of the top 16?
How bad do we have to be to get a really high?
We have to be a bottom 5 team.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Teams trade up all over the first round up into the top 5.
Trade.
That's the whole point.
It's a character.
That is the point. The Bengals don't like to trade up, but if you want to trade up, you need assets. If the Bengals want to trade up, they need assets to do it.
I see.
See,
you don't know that. Unless you're
what assets means, because you just keep throwing the word assets out without defining it.
Well, they are asses, so I understand the confusion.
Oh. No. You don't trade those.
No, you definitely don't trade those.
You keep the one you got. You bought, unless Hodgie is really into the butt plug. So in that case, I guess you're trading. Do you take someone else's and plug it back there?
Wait a minute. What are you talking about, man?
I don't know.
You're
But
talking.
speaking of butt plugs, remember you
No,
were talking about
no. Stop. That is butt enhancement where they add to the curvature of your butt. That's different than a butt plug. Butt plug plugs your butt up. That's not.
That's right. They're very different.
That's not.
When you were talking about Whitworth getting some sort of surgery.
Enhancement, man.
But anyways, speaking of Whitworth, man, that guy had a game.
He did. He's a special man. He's a special man. I'm very happy for him. He got it. He deserved it, man.
Yeah. I feel like he would have been good on our team.
Yeah. I think Marvin Lewis would have still had the job if he were on our team, honestly.
That's true.
Maybe it's for the best, you know.
Maybe. All right. Well, that's what we have. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, one thing, but you guys aren't going to like it. Look, if a person can play well under pressure, guess what? They can play well all season long. Nick Foles, he had a rough start. There was a bad coaching situation on the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was always under some sort of QB controversy. It was never fair for Nick Foles. Then he proved himself. He won a Super Bowl, man. How much more proving itself does it need to get? Nick Foles is a great QB, not a good QB. I want him for this nugget. And now I'm done. Now you can come back.
That John, baby in the background is talking about how Nick Foles stinks outside of Philadelphia.
No, I speak fluent baby. All babies are Nick Foles fans because they like winning.
Well, if the Bengals traded uniforms to the Eagles, if they traded names to the Eagles, and if they traded coaches to the Eagles, give me Nick Foles. Other than that, pass.
What, the RPO thing?
No. He just doesn't succeed outside of Philadelphia.
Well, I don't agree with that. I mean, he was on the Rams, and where else was he? He didn't really. I don't know. I think he could be a good quarterback. I just think he is still finding himself. To be honest with you, John. I think that
he's 30 years old.
He's just turning 30.
Like Tannehill.
Kurt Warner,
and it doesn't take much more to get him than it would take to get Nick Tannehill, Tannehill. But guess what? You know, if it turns out,
there's a better chance that I think with Nick Foles we make the playoffs.
And if you do make the playoffs, then you want the Nick Foles.
Then we win the Super Bowl. John, actually, maybe we should get Nick Foles.
I have you on my side.
I see the logic now. I see it.
Thanos, snap your fingers. Take me.
All right. We're gonna cut this one. That is all we have. I'm really sorry to Rebecca Toback.
Why?
Because, she was supposed to be on the show for the coaches discussion, and we organized it late, and then we got to get her on the show very soon.
Have it on, man. Let's have it on next time.
And I want to thank our patrons, John Harden and Michael something. Can someone
thank you, Michael something.
John, can you look at the Patreon site?
Can you now pronounce our second only patron's name?
It's Michael. Anyways, I want to thank them, and if you want, you can support the show. And
thank you, Michael. Something. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, John, did you find it?
Hold on.
Okay. Hold on.
What is Graftion?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Patreon analytics.
Oh,
that's
man.
Cool.
And speaking of analytics, we're gonna use this board up there to put up some important lines and the stats in the future. It's very advanced.
Yeah, I cannot read that, man. That is so small.
You're trying to be Woody Hayes.
Yeah.
Woody Page. Excuse me.
He's a very frugal man. You get that at the Dollar Tree? What is that?
Yeah. Woody Page was. Oh, that's right. From the Around the Horn. That's right.
Yeah.
He put the Woody stuff up there.
So John, is it fair to say, as you're looking up this Patriot thing, that the
what
Eagles?
What the hell is the link here? I can't find this thing at all.
Oh, okay. Well, then I find it. You guys talk. I find it.
Is it fair to say, John, that the Eagles are going to trade Foles, or might they keep both, or what?
I would keep both personally, but I wouldn't keep it at the expense of $20 million, which I think is the number that's being thrown around there to keep him. I think you
sell a lot of jerseys, but I mean, look. Here's the thing. I mean, the other thing that the Philadelphia people don't realize, or the organization, is Wentz is accident prone, man. He's got a back problem, and he's always. If you get hurt 2 years in a row in the right preseason, that postseason, that means something, man.
No, I think they're in a tough situation. I think it's a big decision. It's Michael Ford, by the way. Thank you, Michael Ford.
Michael Ford, hello.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. But yeah, it's a tough situation for them, really. I would have a tough time making
I would keep Foles. I personally,
well, if you can get a lot for Wentz, I would keep Foles too. And then maybe draft another guy in like 2-3 years.
And then we take Wentz. Would you agree with that, at least,
yeah,
John? If they get rid of Wentz?
I like that.
The analytics guy's going to
But we're not so good at the whole health, trainer thing. We have a lot of guys getting injured.
You guys are holding on. You guys are holding on to this championship window that has been closed for 2 years.
Yeah.
Let it
but
go.
The thing is, John, with like Dunlap and Atkins, what do you tell those guys, or Green?
They're still under contract for
Yeah, but how do you get them to buy into this rebuild when they be like, on the downside by the time we are rebuilt?
And you realize that it means AJ Green will never win a Super Bowl or probably.
And he's probably gone after next year. Next year's his last year.
You think so?
For sure. Yeah. If we rebuild, yeah, why not?
You have to convince them that you're going to bring in a more talented quarterback. That's the whole thing.
Well, you're not. If you bring in
how
Tannehill.
often do you get a Russell Wilson
Tannehill is not good, man.
Right away? You don't get the Russell Wilsons that often, so you win Super Bowl that fast.
You just have to trust his loyalty. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him if he left, but that's what he said he wants to do. He wants to stay with us, but until he does, that's just how it is.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna wrap up the show. Thank you so much to our 2 patrons, and we just ordered some new lights, so we're gonna get better lighting and improve the show a little bit more. We will see you next time. So long, Esviti. Bye.
Bye.